I mean, just imagine spending 400 hours, like 2 solid months of your life, working every single day from sunrise to sunset just to grind down one piece of stone.
Yeah, and doing it with nothing but wet sand and a piece of leather.
Exactly. And then when you finally finish this absolute masterpiece, its ultimate purpose is just to be buried in the dirt forever.
It sounds completely irrational to a modern mind, right?
Yeah.
But in the world we are exploring today, it was, well, the ultimate display of cosmic power.
Welcome to the deep dive. Usually when we think about reading history, we expect words.
Right, we want a linear narrative.
Yeah, syntax, ink on a page, that sort of thing. But today, we are taking a masterclass in reading a single, silent object exactly like a book. We're looking at a prehistoric jade carving known as a pig dragon, or zulong.
And we are going way back here to the Neolithic Hongshan culture. We're talking circa 4700 to 2900 BC.
Which is just incredibly early.
It really is. We are firmly in the pre-Bronze Age millennia before any written Chinese history, and yet this one piece of stone is communicating volumes.
Oh, for sure.
It encodes an entire civilization's worldview, their technology, and their social hierarchy, all without a single written character.
I have to say, I love that your backdrop has already shifted to set the mood. We've got this, dimly lit archaeological archive room behind you, filled with geological maps and these softly illuminated display cases.
Yeah, it felt appropriate for this one.
That's the perfect vibe. Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to see how archaeologists extract a pre-literate society's entire universe from just one piece of carved stone.
It's quite the mission.
It is. So I want you, listening right now, to imagine holding this object. It's a heavy, meticulously shaped piece of pale, celadon greenstone.
With that warm russet brown clouding at the bottom.
Yes, exactly. It fits perfectly right in the palm of your hand, maybe 5 to 15 centimeters long, and it's completely cold to the touch.
And, the first thing you notice when holding it is the basic shape. It's this thick, three-dimensional, coiled teardrop.
Almost like a thick comma.
Right, but it isn't flat like a coin. Every single angle gives you a dense sculptural mass.
And it has this massive head. The head-to-body ratio is wild. It's like a 1-to-2 ratio, so your eyes are just immediately forced upward to the face.
Yeah, the proportions are very deliberate.
Then the body curves down to the right, loops all the way back inward, and leaves this tiny millimeter-wide gap before it meets the head again. But the face itself, honestly, it looks like a Neolithic Frankenstein's monster.
That is actually a great way to put it. It is what anthropologists call a composite zoomorphic entity.
A composite zoomorphic entity.
Right, meaning the craftsman deliberately harvested features from different biological creatures and fused them together to create a brand new mythological being.
Let's break those down, starting with the pig part of the pig dragon. Right next to the eye, there is this broad, pronounced snout.
Unmistakably a pig.
Yeah, and it has these 5 to 7 distinct fanning lines carved into it to mimic fleshy, wrinkled skin folds. But I have to ask, why put a farm animal on a highly sacred piece of jade?
Well, because for a Neolithic farming society, the pig wasn't just an animal. It was the ultimate currency.
Oh, wow. Like actual money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pigs represented wealth, survival, and they were the primary sacrificial offering to the spirits. In Hongshan ritual deposits, archaeologists constantly uncover literal mountains of pig skulls and mandibles.
Just mountains of them.
Yes, massive deposits. So that biological reality of wealth and sacrifice is carved directly into the face of the object.
Okay, so that's the pig. Then you have the body, the smooth, limbless coil that loops around. It's entirely serpentine.
It looks exactly like a snake consuming its own tail.
Right, the classic Ouroboros symbol. To a Neolithic farmer, a snake shedding its skin and coiling in on itself would represent, cyclicality, eternity, the turning of the seasons.
And the fusion doesn't stop with mammals and reptiles either.
Definitely not, because right on top of the head, there's this sharp, angular projection. It doesn't look like a soft mammalian ear at all.
No, it looks like a rigid blade.
Yeah, or the crest of a bird of prey. So now we've got the heavens represented too. And then dominating everything is the eye.
The eye is arguably the most commanding feature of the entire piece.
It's massive. I mean, it takes up a quarter of the facial width. And it's not just a flat circle drawn on the stone. It's a fully three-dimensional concentric system.
You have a raised central bump for the eyeball,
surrounded by a deep carved moat, and then a raised outer ring framing the whole thing. It does not look biological. It feels hypnotic, almost supernatural.
Well, it is designed to be supernatural, but consider what sits right next to that eye. Taking up a full third of the entire object is a massive, perfectly circular void right in the center of the coiled body.
Wait, hold on. This is actually something I've been wondering about. It's literally just a hole in a rock.
Yes.
Are we sure archaeologists aren't overthinking this? Couldn't it just be a practical choice? Like, nephrite is incredibly heavy. Maybe they drilled a massive hole in the middle just to make the thing lighter so it wouldn't bruise their chest when they wore it.
What's fascinating here is that in Neolithic object making, practical function and deep symbolic meaning are almost never separated.
So it's both.
Right. Yes, it removes weight, but we have to look at what scholars call the embryonic reading. Look at the posture of the creature.
Sure.
It is coiled tightly upon itself in the exact position of a fetus or a germinating seed. It represents potential life, highly compressed.
Okay, I can see the fetal shape, but how does the hole factor into that?
Well, if the creature is the fetus, that large central void is the generative space. It is the womb.
Oh, wow.
It's the dragon coiling around the dark void of origination. And we don't just guess this in a vacuum, it directly connects to broader Hongshan practices.
Like what?
We find clay figurines of pregnant women at their ritual sites. They have profound agricultural and biological fertility cults. So the pig dragon isn't just a monster, it is a concentrated symbol of cosmic generative force.
That really changes how I look at it. It's not an empty space at all, it's the center of creation. But what I find equally brilliant is how they guide your attention to these meanings without writing a single word. Think about the physical design for a second.
Go on.
Everything we just described, the intense 3D eye, the sharp crest, the wrinkled snout, it's entirely clustered on the head. Every bit of carving action is crammed into one small zone.
And the rest of that coiled body is completely blank. Just pure, highly polished stone.
Right, that contrast.
That contrast is a very deliberate aesthetic philosophy, an economy intensity dialectic.
Wait, an economy intensity dialectic?
Yes. If you look at the slightly later Langzhou culture to the south, their jade workers covered every single millimeter of their objects with dense, busy patterns and spirals.
Ah, okay.
The Hongshan craftsmen, however, trusted the power of selective emphasis.
Right, by leaving the body completely blank, your eye has nowhere to wander. The visual energy hits that smooth body and ricochets right back to that intense supernatural eye. But I was looking closely at the different carvings and I noticed something. The lines on the snout are super scratchy and rough. Totally different from the smooth curves of the body or the perfect circles of the eye.
They are very different.
Is that just the artist getting tired? Or is there a reason they use different carving styles on the exact same piece?
Oh, it is highly intentional. The artisan used 3 distinct types of mark making, and they are epistemological.
Okay, let's translate that for the listeners. Epistemological meaning representing different ways of understanding reality.
Exactly. The lines tell you what kind of reality you were looking at.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, you have the short, scratchy, radiating lines on the snout. Those are naturalistic. They express the biological, physical reality of the animal meat, skin, muscle.
Makes sense.
Second, you have the geometric, concentric rings of the eye. Perfect, smooth geometry in this culture expresses cosmic or supernatural vision.
And the third type of line is, well, the lack of lines.
Yes. The pure, flowing, uninterrupted contour of the polished body. No tool marks, no scratches. That pure form expresses spiritual abstraction.
So you have 3 totally different realities. The physical, the cosmic, and the spiritual, all encoded purely through the style of the carving.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
That is genuinely poetry in stone. And it's deeply tactile, too. The whole thing is rounded perfectly to fit in the palm.
Yes, the haptic experience is key.
The smooth body, the sharp landmark of the crest. It feels like it was meant to be touched in the dark. Especially if you consider that the people wearing these were likely engaging in shamanic trance states, dancing around fire.
Absolutely. In that state, your visual processing might be compromised, but your sense of touch is highly magnified.
Right.
The physical reality of wearing it is crucial, especially regarding how it hangs on the body.
Oh, right. There's a tiny suspension hole on the outer edge of the body wall, and from a physics standpoint, it's placed at the exact gravitational center.
When you thread a leather cord through that specific hole and suspend it around your neck, gravity does the work.
So it doesn't just dangle randomly.
No, the object naturally hangs with the heavy head upright, and because of the beveling on the back, the face pushes outward.
Wow.
It doesn't lay flat like a modern medallion. It tilts up to meet the gaze of anyone looking at the wearer. It forces a direct, front-facing confrontation.
That has to be so intimidating. You walk up to the shaman, and this greenstone chimera is physically staring you down.
It was meant to be intimidating.
Which brings up something that has been completely blowing my mind, the technology. Or rather, the total lack of it. Here's where it gets really interesting. They carved this incredibly complex, smooth, perfectly balanced object without a single metal tool.
Not one. Bronze hadn't been invented yet.
And the material is nephrite. Just to clarify, this is not jadeite, right? The bright emerald green jade we usually picture didn't even show up in China until thousands of years later.
That's right. Nephrite is a completely different mineral, and it is astonishingly tough. On the Mohs hardness scale, it ranks at a 6 to a 6.5.
To put that in perspective for you listening, if you take a standard steel kitchen knife and try to scratch a piece of nephrite, the stone will win.
Easily.
The steel knife will actually dull against it. Its crystal structure is made of these dense interlocking fibers, making it incredibly resistant to shattering or fracturing.
So you cannot just take a sharp flint rock and whittle this stone like a piece of wood. It will destroy your tools. You don't cut nephrite, you grind it.
So if they only have sticks, leather, sand, and water, how do they even make a dent in it, let alone carve a perfect 3-register concentric eye?
It is a process of slow, sustained, punishing abrasion. The complete toolkit of a Hongshan master craftsman consisted of hard stone hammers, flat sandstone slabs, loose abrasive powders like crushed garnet or quartz sand, bow drills with bone tips, and water as a lubricant.
Let's walk through what that actually looks like, because the sheer physical toll is staggering. Step 1, you have to actually get the stone.
Which was no small feat.
Chemical trace studies show this specific nephrite came from the Zhuyin deposits, which are 300 to 400 kilometers away from the Hongshan Cultural Center.
Keep in mind, this is before the invention of the wheel.
Right, so picture someone physically walking 400 kilometers across Neolithic terrain, carrying boulders of rough stone on their back or dragging them on sleds.
It implies massive, organized, long-distance trade networks before they even make a single cut.
Then stage 2 is the rough shaping. They literally sit there with a heavier hammerstone and just peck at the block for days to knock off the rough edges.
Then they move to the sandstone slabs.
They sprinkle wet sand on a flat rock and just rub the jade against it back and forth over and over until their arms go numb, just to get that basic comma shape.
It's grueling work.
But the void in the middle, how do you drill a massive hole through solid rock without a drill bit?
Use a bow drill? Imagine a wooden bow, like for archery, with its string wrapped around a vertical stick.
Like when you're trying to start a fire.
Exactly like that. But the tip of the stick has a piece of bone attached. You press the bone against the stone, add wet sand, and saw the bow back and forth so the stick spins rapidly.
And that cuts it.
No, the spinny bone doesn't cut the stone at all. It drags the sand particles in a circle, and the sand slowly grinds an entry hole.
Oh, I see. They drill from both sides so they meet in the middle, and then they thread a cord covered in wet sand through the hole and essentially use it like a flexible saw, pulling it back and forth to widen the void into a perfect circle.
That's exactly it.
And that raised eyeball. They don't carve the eye out, they grind down the entire face around the eyeball, millimeter by millimeter, leaving the eye standing up as a bump.
And finally, the polishing.
Weeks of it. Switching to finer and finer sand, and eventually using incredibly fine powder and a leather strap to buff it until it gets this deep, waxy, mirror-like luster. The surface becomes so smooth it looks almost translucent.
It does.
So realistically, how long does it take an expert to make just one of these pig dragons?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, experimental archaeologists actually tried to replicate this exact level of quality using only period-appropriate tools.
Yeah.
The data is staggering. It requires a minimum of 200 to 400 hours of highly skilled labor.
400 hours.
Yes. If a craftsman is doing 6 hours of brutally exhausting, productive physical work a day, you are looking at 1 to 2 full months of continuous labor for a single object.
And this is where the societal implications really click into place for me. I mean, in order for someone to sit in a workshop and grind a piece of rock for 2 solid months, they cannot be out in the fields planting millet or hunting deer.
Precisely. They aren't producing their own calories. Someone else has to be growing their food, harvesting it, and bringing it to them.
The society has to be producing a massive agricultural surplus.
And they must have a political structure powerful enough to collect that surplus and distribute it to dedicated full-time craft specialists.
Yeah.
So this pig dragon isn't just an art piece.
No, it's physical evidence.
It is hard, physical proof of severe social stratification. It proves the Hongshan had an elite class capable of commanding the labor of others.
Which brings us to the ultimate question of function. Who actually gets to wear the result of 400 hours of grueling labor?
We find these objects in very specific archaeological contexts. They are consistently uncovered resting on the chests or abdomens of high-status adults.
Always high status.
Always. Buried in the most prominent central positions of elite tombs at ceremonial complexes like Nihiliang.
So we are talking about what researchers call shamanic regalia. These individuals weren't just politicians, they were shaman chiefs.
Right. They held absolute political power because they held religious authority. Wearing this pig dragon was physical proof that you had a direct line to the spirit world.
And we know what they were likely asking the spirits for, too. In early Chinese cosmologies, the dragon is intrinsically tied to water, clouds, and storms.
Exactly. The coiled circular form of this object mimics the rotating constellations of the sky or rolling thunderheads.
So the shaman would wear this piece in highly theatrical rituals to invoke rain, which was a matter of life and death for their crops.
It was everything.
I think of it like an ancient CEO's badge or, the medals on a 4-star general's uniform, but with cosmic stakes. It is a wearable resume of divine authority.
That's a very apt comparison.
When you walk out of your tent wearing this gleaming green stone and it's staring directly at the crowd, everyone knows. You control the weather, you speak to the gods, and you possess the immense wealth required to command an artisan to grind stone for 2 months just to make your badge.
That captures the social dynamic perfectly. But we also have to look at the variations in the archaeological record. Examining the differences across the known corpus of these objects tells us even more about the hierarchy.
Right, because there are about 60 to 80 documented pieces, and there's quite a range.
Yes, a wide range.
Some are tiny, just 3 or 4 centimeters long, maybe made for children of the elite, or used as quick votive offerings. Some have heads that look more like bears, or they feature these prominent spiky manes down their backs. But this specific one we've been dissecting, it's clearly the top of the pyramid.
Unquestionably. The 3-register eye, the incredibly sharp architectural crest, the massive, perfectly circular void, these are high investment features associated only with the absolute elite. This belonged to someone at the very pinnacle of Hongshan society.
And there's one final detail about its function that is just haunting. Some of these top-tier jades, when examined under a microscope, show absolutely zero wear and tear.
None at all. The suspension holes aren't rubbed smooth by the friction of a leather cord. There are no micro scratches from bouncing against a person's chest every day.
Which means someone spent 400 hours grinding a flawless piece of nephrite specifically and exclusively to bury it in the dirt. They never even wore it in life.
Because for the Hongshan, the afterlife was not an abstract concept. It was a literal continuation of this life. A funerary-specific object was essential.
Wow.
It was meant to protect the deceased from dark forces, to instantly signal their immense status to supernatural observers in the next world, or perhaps to serve as the actual spirit mount, the vehicle to carry their soul to the heavens.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive by saying we were going to read a single object, like a history book, and look at what we've unpacked from one piece of carved green stone. It's not just ancient jewelry, it is a compressed archive.
It functions as a physical hard drive of a completely vanished culture.
By closely looking at the scratch marks on a snout, the polished curves of a blank body, the perfectly drilled void, and the staggering hardness of the stone itself, we can essentially read the minds of people who lived 5,000 years ago.
It's incredible.
We know about their farming surplus, their 400-kilometer trade routes, their massive class divide, their desperate rituals for rain, and their profound belief in the eternal cycle of life and death. All locked inside a single stone pig dragon.
It really highlights the power of material analysis. When you strip away the words, the objects we create betray exactly who we are. And this raises an important question for you to ponder listening to this.
Oh, I like where this is going.
If our modern civilization were to disappear today, leaving absolutely no written text behind, no cloud servers, no books, no digital records, what is the single personal object you own that archaeologists in 5,000 years could dig up to completely decode our culture's worldview, our hierarchies, and our values? What is our compressed archive?
That is a phenomenal question to leave on, because at the end of the day, whether it's a prehistoric piece of polished jade or whatever device is sitting in your pocket right now, every single object has a language. We just have to remember how to read it.